There is one small elephant in the room to address, and no, it's not because of the fact that my camera's on very low battery. The producers of the film jokingly gave me a bribe before the film started, and I thought, in the interest of fairness, and sure, I'm writing this review, you'll have read by the time this little bit of video goes out, I thought I'd open the bribe on camera, just so we can be fair and accountable. So what's this? Thanks for that thing you did. It was amazing. Oh, brilliant! They give me a card with all the producers and the directors. Oh, this is brilliant. This is... You know what? That's going up here. That is going up here. Oh, there goes my cup of Earl Grey. I'll correct that and get it. I imagine these will be chocolates. These are the ones that Ed got, I wouldn't be surprised. Yes. 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 Oh. Just my bloody luck. If you consider this payment for the review, guys, well, that's not how we work. I get paid in Earl Grey. Look, I know, I'm wearing a suit, no big deal. But it is kind of relevant considering the themes of this month's episode of The Journal. If you're not already aware by now, I mean, if you're not, you've probably been living under a rock for the last 8 months. But I've been working with UConn's fantastic film production students to document behind the scenes of their feature-length adaptation of Shirley Jackson's novel, The Haunting of Hill House. And no, it's not the Netflix one. It is definitely not the Netflix one. But I'm all suited and booted because as I film this, their premiere is later on in the week. So what we thought we'd do on this month's journal is, as part of the Born Independent campaign, which we're going to really amp up a little bit more now that uni's out of the way, is we're going to sort of start featuring the cinemas that inspired the campaign. And it just so happens that these guys are going to be premiering this film at a cinema that is very close to my heart, being the local indie cinema. And not only that, it is a brilliant venue. This month on The Journal, we're going to be having a deep dive into Longridge's Palace Cinema. But before we go anywhere with the rest of this month's journal, our usual monthly update. We're starting to amp back up on the reviews, which is good. Rip Ticket didn't win any of those awards, which is a bloody shame, but we had the winner for Media Newcomer on the show a few weeks back. It was good to have Gemma pop in and sort of talk about Avengers with us. It was a brilliant show. If you've not heard it back, you can head over to the Mixcloud page or just go to TheJackSmit.com/radio. Every single show is right there. And also, preparations for a new audio-based film thing are going incredibly well. Obviously, we're not at liberty to give you too many details yet, but we have a Yeti now, so expect some incredible voiceovers on this series pretty soon. So, the meat and potatoes of this month. Before we delve into the current state of the Palace Cinema in Longridge, we've got to have a brief look into the past. Because that is my mantra, really. You've got to understand the past to understand the future of film. Originally built as a weaving shed, in 1912 a chap by the name of Will Onder opened up a cinema in this location just outside Longridge. Now, Onder was Preston's equivalent to P.T. Barnum. He ran the Preston Film Service, a company which made well over 100 short films in the late 1900s. And it's kind of fitting that their headquarters was a stone's throw away from what is now UConn's Media Factory, the place where the guys who made The Haunting have learnt their craft for the last 2 years. Fast forward to after the war, and it had fallen into disrepair. It had become a bingo hall, a roller skating rink. It had been used briefly again as a theatre, but it was in the late 50s that it sort of really began to kick off again as a cinema. But in 1976, a woman by the name of Dorothy Williamson took on the cinema, and she became very well known amongst the people of Longridge for running that cinema so incredibly well. Not just through the rise of TV and home video, but also with the arrival of a cinema that I know a fair bit about, thanks to another one of the film production lot who I work with. And I'm kind of channeling him with the suit right now. It's a very Ed Greenberg vibe. But Dorothy was able to run the cinema through the rise of View and Odeon as well, and she retired at the end of 2017. That's when the current owner, Lara Hewitt, comes in. But in May of last year, Lara opened the cinema back up, following a little bit of a refresh, renovation work. The Palace is really where old school and new school come together in an insane way. You've got your original seats, 193 of them, bigger than the biggest screen at the View multiplex down the road. But their pre-show and the pre-film atmosphere is unlike anything else. You've got your old school Pearl and Dean commercials, which I haven't seen on a cinema screen for about 15 years, mixed with the national anthem playing before every single film. Some customers stand, some customers sit down, but it has your proper vintage atmosphere. As part of the refurbishment, they added a bar, a pretty nice one at that. That does bring me on to the concessions a little bit. Your cinema staples are there: popcorn, hot dogs, cups of Earl Grey tea, reasonably priced at £1.50 if I say so myself. But this cinema is deliberately designed to be the alternative. Sure, they've got big rivals in the form of the Flower Bowl, which are the new kids on the block in this independent cinema market in Preston. The Palace has remained a vital part of the community of Longridge. Sure, it's a population of 6,000 people, but for many, that cinema is the cornerstone of the community. They've remained relevant for 40 years, and they've been able to compete incredibly well with the likes of the multiplex, with the rise of home video, with the rise of streaming services, and of course, the rise of other venues like the Flower Bowl. But this is the kicker: they're barely getting admissions at the minute. They are barely getting admissions, and sure, their programming is skewing a little more mainstream nowadays. When I visited there on May 10th to do my recce visit, they'd only just got Avengers Endgame for the first time, and that's more due to the contract. The way Disney insists they show the film was you play your film in your biggest screen for 2 weeks minimum, and you only get 25% of the ticket costs back. That's one of the many things I learned from my tenuous links with cinema management, not just in the indie scene, but in the multiplex scene as well. But their programming skews a little bit more mainstream. For example, they are getting Rocketman today, as this journal goes out. Today is the first day they're going to be showing it. They've just got their hands on Detective Pikachu. But to supplement all of this, they have incredibly niche screenings that sort of very much tailored to the people of Longridge. You've got a book club, you've got your theatre screenings. They're showing the Take That thing on June 29th, I think. Can't remember the programme off the top of my head. But they do all sorts of alternative content. They even utilise that stage, which I've stood on, and which has also been used for vaudeville acts. But they use that stage for open mic nights, comedy nights. They did a full pantomime over Christmas as well, taking advantage of the facilities that they've got there. And sure, the facilities aren't great. This is a cinema that has been open for 40 years, but they have your digital projection in place. You've got your 5.1 surround sound. You've got decent systems in place. I mean, I got to go up to the projection room and I spotted a lot of the equipment that the View projection room has. Good old Dolby CP750s, QSC amps. Oh yeah, and they kept their 35mm projector as well. Proper old school film. So if they want to show anything old school, I can go ahead and do it. It's the best thing about these venues. As for the pricing though, that is particularly interesting. Compared to their multiplex rivals, the Palace are considerably cheaper. By a long margin. The highest tier pricing that View charge nowadays is 12 quid. 12 quid! Even former staff members are a little shocked at that development, believe me. But the Palace, at peak time, only charge 7. quite a difference, and I think I know the place I'll be visiting a little bit more from now on. And that's even with my obvious ties to View. Plus, the palace is also available for private hire, which explains how they were able to premiere The Haunting there. I mean, literally, the facilities are okay. Just don't play a film from a laptop, from a hard drive, when you know that you're going to get interrupted by Wi-Fi login prompts. Yep, knew that was going to happen. But on top of this unique atmosphere, you've got proper cinema at its finest. I cannot recommend this place enough. And that pretty much brings the curtain down, quite literally, on this month's journal. Hopefully you enjoyed this little insight into one of the 5 cinemas that inspired the Born Independent campaign. We've got a few others we want to focus on as well. We've got the Hyde Park Picture House in Leeds, Zeffirelli's in Ambleside. That's a brilliant cinema. I cannot recommend that enough. Obviously the Flower Bowl, the Everyman in York, and of course Palace being the 5th and the most local. That does remind me, the whole Palace and the Haunting premiere, I've just spotted behind me. They gave me an award at the Rat Party back in March. The Eddie for most likely to become a UCLan lecturer. I think it's safe to say in that suit, I might already look like one. Whoa, stop the N-board, stop the music, stop everything. I did say we'd be announcing the new audio-based film thing at the end of this journal, didn't I? As a lot of you will be aware, again, if you've been living under a rock for the last 8 months and haven't been following the blog's content, you'll be aware that I've been presenting the award-nominated Rip Ticket show on Pulse Radio for this academic year. By the time you watch this, because this journal's going out on May 31st, last week was my final show, and today is the last day of transmissions for the station altogether. So it means that I can announce this officially without there being a conflict of interest. Back in January, we did a pilot for a podcast. We called it Talking Smit About Film, and this pilot episode was highlights from the radio show. Sort of to get an episode out ahead of the official launch, because back then I was thinking, it'd be a funny idea if I did a podcast at some point. So that's exactly what we're doing. Talking Smit About Film is going to be launching mid-June, early July. We've got to get time to A, sort out guests, B, sort out a format, and C, inherit all of the features you know from Rip Ticket. Yes, we're going to be continuing doing the film news rundown. We're going to be continuing doing the box office with the beds, the music, as well. And the first show, because we want to give all of you a heads up, the first show, not only will it be going on the Rip Ticket Mixcloud page to give all of you followers of the programme an idea of where to find me over the summer, but it will also be going out on iTunes, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. Talking Smit About Film will be there. We're even on TuneIn as well. We are on TuneIn. So if you have any way of getting your podcasts, search for Talking Smit About Film, get subscribed, because we're going to be launching very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if it launches on July 1st, because that's the day that we launch all the big things on the blog. The journal launched on July 1st, the reviews probably launched on July 1st. Yeah, it's almost as if I've got a certain marathon weekend to plan around that. But yes, the podcast is real. It's happening. I've got a microphone for it, as you can see at the top of this episode. So, you'll want to get ready. And if you haven't already done so, especially with this YouTube stuff, like, share, subscribe, you know what to do. Believe me, I don't know what the hell I'm going to be doing for the next 5 months now that uni is done. But it's good to go a little bit more Born Independent. The journal will return in June, maybe with a big piece on why the November Robin Hood film was so shambolic, dire and disappointing, but we shall have to see if Content ID agrees with me there. But these next 2 months worth of journal content should theoretically be straight fire. We'll see you next month, everyone.